The Wife is First. Volume 3, Gathering Storm. Chapter 73, News, 2. Hanjiang, don't resent your father. There are differences between legitimate sons and those of the concubines. There are some things that I need to do in order to protect our household. The Marquis of Beiwei was so depressed that he couldn't help but kept on drinking. Why is father saying this? How could the son have any resentment against father? Mu Hanjiang pour his father another cup of wine. Fathers were the guiding light for which their sons follow. Even if the father wanted the son's life, the son shouldn't be resentful. Besides, his father was quite good to him despite of his illegitimate status. It had been a rule since ancient times that the son of a concubine couldn't inherit the title of a noble family. During the reign of the late emperor, the legitimate son of the Count of Shao had died in infancy. The Count of Shao himself had no blood brothers, so he petitioned to make the son of his concubine to be his heir apparent. Without saying a word, the late emperor directly seized the Count of Shao's title. According to the laws of inheritance, the succession of the noble titles depended on the grace of the heaven. If the emperor wills it, even if the son was from a secondary wife, he might still seize the noble's title. Therefore, no matter how outstanding Mu Hanjiang was, the Marquis of Beiwei couldn't take this risk. Mu Hanjiang knew that for his father, preserving this noble title left by his ancestors was the most important thing. Only by keeping this title could the family survive. Therefore, as an illegitimate son, he seemed insignificant. Were there really parents in this world who didn't love their children even a little bit? He remembered when his father was teaching him marksmanship, he had said to him, those who was merely waiting to inherit a noble title were not really capable. Hanjiang must be ambitious and earn a title on his own when he grows up. Aya, you are too kind-hearted. The Marquis of Beiwei's eyes have turned red after drinking for some time. He looked at the son and shook his head. Mu Hanjiang frowned. It was rare to see his father so dejected. Could it be that Mu Lingbao was truly seriously ill? He asked tentatively, why did father not attend the court session today? I always try to protect myself first before anything else. In the end, I'm still stuck in a quagmire. The Marquis of Beiwei spoke as if he was talking to himself. Then he said, go back and tell Prince Cheng that I wasn't able to do anything. When Mu Hanjiang heard this, he immediately couldn't sit still anymore. It turned out that his father had been talking endlessly in circles without getting to the point about asking his son not to resent his father because there had to be some trap waiting for Jing Shao in the court today. He hurriedly said goodbye and left. As soon as had walked out of the Chihuahua gate, he ran into a person who was coming in with quick pace. Mu Hanjiang staggered a little from the collision, but instead of apologizing, the other person put his arm around his waist and pinched him covertly. Beauty, where are you going in such a hurry? Mu Hanjiang's handsome face immediately turned red. He raised his head and glared at Jing Shao's seemingly cold and stern face. Looking at his appearance, it didn't look like he had suffered any grievances. While Mu Hanjiang breathed a sigh of relief, he also couldn't help but roll his eyes. This prince had been to the Marquis of Beiwei residence before. How come I have never come across such a handsome person then? No, 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 I have to take you and bring you back to my estate today. Jing Shao declared this as he carried him in his arms. He also pretended to sneer as he continued, Beauty, don't roll your eyes. This prince is going to divorce the concubines today, so you would have this prince undivided attention every minute of the day and especially at night for those bed. Mu Hanjiang quickly covered his mouth and looked around. Yunzu had already tactfully pulled the servants leading the way towards the carriage. Jing Shao stuck out his tongue and gently licked Mu Hanjiang's soft palm. Seeing him remove his hand to avoid the ticklish sensation, he couldn't help laughing and planting a kiss on his face. Mu Hanjiang struggled to be put down and straightened his wrinkled clothes. Why are you so happy? He, because I'm going to have a marquee for an official consort. Jing Shao said with a smile. Mu Hanjiang frowned and suddenly raised his head to look at Jing Shao. Have a marquee for an official consort, what does it mean? Unless Jing Shao somehow knew that Mu Lingbao wouldn't live for much longer. Suddenly he remembered that back then, Jing Shao kept on saying that he wanted to hurry back to the capital before the end of the year to do something. Afterwards, he said that even if they didn't make it in time, someone else would take care of it. Could it be that? Without saying another word, Mu Hanjiang pulled him and walked away. Jing Shao didn't know what was going on. He thought that his prince consort just felt embarrassed by his actions and wanted to quickly lead him away. He let himself be pulled, but he deliberately dragged his feet, making it look like Mu Hanjiang was pulling a cat that was reluctant to go out for a walk and refused to move. On the way back, Yunzu naturally drove the carriage back first, while Prince Cheng and Prince Consort Cheng rode Xiao He together. The heir of the Marquis of Beiwei fell into an icy river on the 27th day after the winter solstice. Mu Hanjiang turned his head to look at Jing Shao as he spoke. Is that so? Jing Shao asked casually, as if he couldn't care any less, and didn't say anything more. Did you already know about this matter? Mu Hanjiang narrowed his eyes. I've been with you all this time. How could I know? Jing Shao said confidently, though he sounded like he was trying to be evasive, which only made things even more conspicuous. Mu Hanjiang sighed. Then, he narrowed his eyes and said, there was no need to take such risks on my behalf. I'm only giving them a taste of their. Jing Shao replied proudly. Halfway through, he suddenly realized that he had given himself away. He suddenly had half a sentence stuck in his throat and did not dare to continue anymore. He looked down and saw his prince consort, who was raising his eyebrows and smiling softly. Shame turned into passion as Prince Cheng turned his horse around and went into a back alley. He then grabbed the man in his arms and kissed him ferociously. After the long kiss ended, Mu Hanjiang panted slightly, with the corners of his eyes turning slightly red. Jing Shao caressed his face tenderly and said in a soft voice, all the people who have hurt you, I will pay them back 10 times, 100 times more. Those words were spoken in a deep and gentle voice, but it resonated a lot stronger compared to if they had shouted loudly. Mu Hanjiang stared at him intently for a while, then he slowly caressed Jing Shao's handsome side face as he said, I have stopped bearing them resentment a long time ago. Jing Shao turned his head and kissed his palm, afraid that Mu Hanjiang might thought that he had gone overboard. Don't worry, Mu Lingbao won't die. I'm in control of the situation. Then why did you say you will have a marquee as an official consort? Mu Hanjiang raised his eyebrows. That. Jing Shao leaned over and bit his ear, I'll tell you tonight. The two of them bickered as they returned to Prince Cheng estate, where Steward Yun informed that Imperial Physician Zhang had come for a visit. Imperial Physician Zhang was Zhang Lang's father. He was the Imperial Physician whom Jing Shao called the morning after his marriage to examine his prince consort. This man had always been reluctant to associate too closely with nobles and member of the imperial families, so why had he taken the initiative to visit his estate today? The couple looked at each other. Mu Hanjiang said a few words in Jing Shao's ear and Jing Shao nodded knowingly. Then they went to the main hall together. Dr. Zhang, how have you been? Without waiting for Dr. Zhang to give a long official salutations, Zhang Shao directly but politely invited him to sit down. Tomorrow is the Lantern Festival. This humble official came over to deliver gifts for the new year. Imperial Physician Zhang was obviously not used to playing politics, as his words were somewhat stiff and blunt. Mu Hanjiang laughed lightly as he accepted the offering from Imperial Physician Zhang. You're too polite, there's no need for such formalities between the Zhang and the Prince Cheng's household, is there? Imperial Dr. Zhang smiled uncomfortably. Last year, Prince Cheng said he would help find placement for Zhang Lang only for him to be directly assigned as one of Prince Cheng's personal guards. From that moment on, their Zhang family became inevitably tied to Prince Cheng. When he realized what had happened, it was already too late. I came here today because I have something to ask His Highness. Mu Hanjiang handed Imperial Physician Jiang's gift to Yunzu and whispered a few instructions to him. Imperial physician Zhang said that Zhang Lang's mother had been in poor health recently and wanted to ask Prince Cheng to transfer Zhang Lang back to the capital so that he could take care of his mother from time to time. I thought it was something serious. It's not a problem at all, Jing Xiao said with a smile. I'll make arrangements for him after the Lantern Festival, but it's best to wait until the bestowment of the rewards first so a higher position can be prepared for him. Then, thank you so much, Your Highness. Dr. Zhang sighed. Zhang Lang is like His Highness' right arm. Even if he is transferred back to the capital, we will make sure that he won't be taken advantage of in any ways. You can rest assured, Mu Hanzhong said casually. Upon hearing this, Imperial physician Jiang's expression, which had just relaxed, became tense again. The battle for the position of the crown prince was almost at hand. He didn't want any part in it, but what Prince Consort Cheng said was true. Now, no matter where Zhang Lang went, others already knew that he came from Prince Cheng's army. Once he was branded as such, it would be difficult to break free of it. Thinking about this, he couldn't help but feel a little depressed. In the meantime, Yunzu came back in holding a box. These are some rare medicinal herbs that we got in the southwest. We don't use them, so they're just left here in the residence. Dr. Zhang better take them to help with the madam's recuperation. Mu Hanzhong gestured for Yunzu to hand over the box. This. Dr. Zhang wanted to refuse, but Prince Consort Cheng had already ended the conversations. Not taking it would be deemed impolite, so he could only accept it. As Dr. Zhang took the box, Mu Hanzhong sat next to Prince Cheng and said calmly, "There is a little something I want to ask about." "Your Highness, please speak." Imperial physician Zhang didn't want to cause trouble to anyone, but since he said it was a trivial matter, Dr. Zhang couldn't refuse. "It's about the heir of the Marquis of Beiwei. They've invited an imperial doctor to see him a few days ago. Can the doctor let me know exactly what is afflicting him?" Mu Hanzhong rubbed the teacup in his hand and asked slowly, "I heard that it is very serious. I'm just afraid that..." The last word was drawn out with a slight sigh. "Your Highness should not overthink about it," Imperial physician Zhang sighed. "The condition in that part of him was the most delicate. I'm afraid it will be difficult for him to recover from a frostbite on that. Even Imperial physician Zheng is at a loss for what to do about it." End chapter. The Wife is First. Volume 3, Gathering Storm. Chapter 74, Divorcing the Concubine. Imperial doctors have always observed strict confidentiality, but that is only for the outside. They would be called upon to treat various nobles and members of the imperial family, and anything important must be reported to the emperor. Therefore, Imperial Dr. Zhang didn't find it surprising that a member of the imperial family would know about this matter, so he didn't have worries and spoke about it candidly. Mu Hanzhong was surprised and looked at Jing Xiao, who gazed back at him with a look that said, "I don't know either." He then carefully asked the doctor a few more pointed questions. It wasn't until he heard the phrases, "It's now difficult to have another child and can't engage in sexual intercourse," that Mu Hanzhong finally got the confirmation which part of Mu Lingbao's body was damaged by the frostbite. When Jing Xiao came back after seeing off Dr. Zhang, he found that his prince consort was still sitting in the same place, frowning and obviously deep in thought. His elegant, jade-like fingers were unconsciously rubbing the armrests of the chair. "What are you thinking about?" As Jing Xiao kept gazing at him, he couldn't help the stirrings in his heart. He grabbed those restless fingers with his warm hands. "Whenever you want to think about something in the future, just grab onto to me instead." Since his prince consort liked rubbing his fingers on something whenever he was deep in thought, he could just imagine how his xiao 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 could be rubbed instead. He. Mu Hanzhong looked up at him and shook his head helplessly. "Your silliness is showing." He. Jing Xiao touched his nose and squeezed over to sit on the same chair with his prince consort, but the chair had armrests which was in the way, and the chair itself was not big enough for two grown men to squeeze in. Mu Hanzhong stood up helplessly, but he was pulled down into an embrace and was placed to sit on the other man's lap. The two of them were used to sitting like this in the military camp. Mu Hanjiang shifted a little until he got comfortable. My mother may be pregnant. Mu Hanjiang really picked up Jing Xiao's hand and started playing with it. The hand was big with well-defined joints, broad and strong. The palm and fingertips had thin calluses from years of holding weapons. Really? Jing Xiao was really surprised this time. His mother-in-law was already in her 30s, and she could still be pregnant? This is a good thing. Have she been checked by an imperial doctor? Mu Hanjiang shook his head and said, the marquee residence is in chaos right now with the heir being. You are so cruel. You actually crippled him like that. Jing Xiao felt tickled with those fingers rubbing against his palm, but he didn't dare to say anything for fear that he would stop playing with them again, and held himself back. That isn't my fault. When they found Mu Lingbao, he was behaving wantonly in an ill-reviewed brothel. How could thugs remember to make him put his pants on first? Mu Hanjiang sighed and said instead, I want to take my mother to our home for a day and find a doctor to take a look at her. All right, Jing Xiao replied, as he was especially happy to hear the words our home from his prince consort. Might as well have mother come and stay here during her pregnancy. We'll be staying in the capital for at least a year and a half, anyways. How can that be? Mu Hanjiang smiled and looked at him. My father is still around. We have no excuse to take my mother to her married son's house to take care of her. Tomorrow is the Lantern Festival. She won't have excuse to come out, and we have to go to the Imperial Palace at night. So, how about we let Dr. Zhang check her on the 16th day of the first lunar month? Mu Hanjiang frowned. He originally thought about asking a doctor from the capital so as to prevent the news from coming out, but on second thoughts, if Prince Cheng Estate invited a private doctor from the city for no reason, it would definitely arouse suspicion. Moreover, since it's within Prince Cheng's estate, the matter became imperial business, meaning the imperial physician was duty-bound to keep the matter a secret. Thus, he agreed to this. Jing Xiao put his chin on the shoulder of the person in his arms and swayed a little. They were quiet for a moment as each of them made plans for the issues that would emerge soon while the afternoon sun filtered through this tranquil scene. Your Highness. Your Highness. You, son of a bitch, get out of the way. I want to see His Highness. Suddenly, sharp piercing screams broke through the warm atmosphere. Mu Hanjiang got off from Jing Xiao's lap and straightened his clothes. Then he turned to look at Jing Xiao, whose face instantly turned gloomy. Did something happen? Jing Xiao stood up and asked the guards to take Song Lingzin to Tingfeng Pavilion. He also stood up and walked out, saying to his prince consort, go to the east courtyard and have an afternoon rest. I'll join you after I deal with this. Mu Hanjiang disagreed and followed him out. I should handle the affairs of the inner chamber. I have to be present for this matter. Jing Xiao sneered. Can you guess why she was raising such a ruckus? It's because her father almost ruined me in the court today. The two of them arrived at the study room of Tingfeng Pavilion together. When Song Lingzin saw Jing Xiao, she immediately rushed towards him, but he dodged her right away and she ended up falling hard on the floor. Your Highness, my father had no choice but to do that. This really has nothing to do with me. Song Lingzin simply lay on the ground, grabbing Jing Xiao's robe and wailed. Jing Xiao looked at the woman at his feet coldly. Nothing to do with you? Then how come nothing else was said except a complaint specifically targeting Prince Consort Cheng? How can I, a woman, know anything about matters in the court? Song Lingzin cried with snot and tears. Mu Hanjiang frowned and roughly guessed what was going on. He didn't even know what had just happened in the court, but the Song Lingzin already knew it clearly and even reacted so quickly. If one kept such a person in the house, trouble will happen sooner or later. He raised his head and glanced at Jing Xiao. There was a look of extreme disgust in the man's eyes. Today his husband said that he was going to deal with it. He must have decided to abandon Song Lingzin and her father. Privately, he naturally hopes that Jing Shao wouldn't have any concubines at all, but if Jing Shao divorced Song Lingzin today, Mu Hanjiang, the legitimate wife, would be the only one left in the inner chamber. Inevitably, someone would definitely try to insert concubines in their household. Jing Shao threw his sleeves back and walked to the desk. He picked up a brush to write a letter of divorce. Your Highness. Song Lingzin looked at the divorce letter for a long time and suddenly screamed, Your Highness, my father was only doing it for your own good. Your achievements are so great that it's better to keep from attracting more attention to yourself. If she was divorced as a concubine and her father had also offended Prince Chang, how could she live in the future? The Prince Chang's estate doesn't support ingrates who eat the food here but whose loyalty lies elsewhere. Jing Shao looked at her coldly. He didn't like this woman from the very beginning. Even in her previous life, he had no feelings for her. He was only trying to win over Song An, which proved to be unnecessary as Song An was such an incompetent person who wouldn't be of any help but would be a hindrance instead. Today, he had discussed with his brother about pulling Song An down as soon as possible. Naturally, he couldn't let this woman stay. Your Highness, how many things have this one done for this estate? Just because of this bitch, you dismissed all the concubines. Song Lingzin jumped up and pointed at Mu Hanjiang as he rained curses at him. You're such a slut, pulling such sly and treacherous tricks to seduce His Highness. You've lost face for all the scholars out there. You bitch. Pack. A crisp and loud slap came to Song Lingzin's face, who was yelling curses. When she turned around, she found that it was the maidservant next to the prince consort. You little bitch, how dare you hit me? Lady Song sounded almost crazed. She had long lost her demeanor as a lady raised in a noble household. Everything that came out of her mouth were variations of slurs and curses. She raised her hand to hit Ji Ruoyi back. Ji Ruoyi grabbed Lady Song's wrist and twisted it behind her with a clever backhand move. She then spoke with enunciation, if a concubine insults and dishonor the principal wife, she should be punished with 20 slaps. Mu Hanjiang looked at the farce in front of him and shook his head. He turned to Duo Fu, who was standing at the side. Duo Fu, gong gong, count out concubine Song's dowry and give her another 1,000 taels of silver. After hearing this, Lady Song suddenly calmed down and stopped struggling and crying. She paused for a moment and said, Thank you, Prince Consort. Seeing her calm down like this, Ji Ruoyi let go of her hand. Suddenly, Lady Song pulled out a dagger from her waist and screamed as she threw herself at Mu Hanjiang. Jun Cheng. Jing Shao was startled. He was still standing behind the desk, but he immediately jumped onto it. Dang! There was a crisp sound and the dagger was blocked by the Hanjiang treasure sword. At the same time, Jing Shao kicked the crazy woman, which threw her up to the entrance of the threshold. Are you hurt? Jing Shao quickly pulled his prince consort over to check him. Mu Hanjiang shook his head and put the Han's Hang sword back into its sheath. Jing Shao looked at Song Lingzin, who was struggling to get up by the door, and he felt murderous intent in his heart. He turned to Do Fu and said, Treat this as this concubine attempted to murder the official wife and punished her accordingly. Duo Fu looked at the woman on the floor and wrinkled his steamed bun face. If a concubine attempted to murder the principal wife, even if no one was harmed, she would still have to be arrested and imprisoned according to the imperial laws. No longer paying attention to anyone, Jing Shao held his frightened wife and returned to the east courtyard. Mu Hanjiang was deep in thoughts and didn't resist much. He let himself be hugged all the way back. When he came back to his senses, he found himself already laying on the big bed in the inner chamber of the east courtyard and was being pressed by someone. Why are you dazed again? Did you get scared? Jing Shao leaned over and kissed his forehead. How can that be impossible? Mu Hanjiang laughed despite of himself and suddenly looked into Jing Shao's dark eyes. A hint of melancholy appeared in his eyes as he said, Since you are divorcing Song Lingzin, there will be no more concubines left in this house, and you also have no heirs. If what? Jing Shao propped himself up and looked at him. Jun Qing's eyes were clouded and uncertain as he said, "If imperial father-in-law insists on giving you concubines, what will you do?" Mu Hanjiang looked at him steadily. Originally, it was fine that Jing Shao had married 1 or 2 women as necessary ornaments, but it truly made him sad to think that Jing Shao would have to take another woman. "What do you want me to do?" Jing Shao still pushed the problem onto him. They had been communicating their feelings to each other for a long time now. If Jun Qing dared to urge him to take concubines, he would fuck him so hard that he wouldn't be able to leave their bed for the next 3 days. "You are not allowed to take in concubines." Mu Hanjiang lowered his eyes and whispered. "What did you say?" Jing Shao came close to his lips, as the curve of his mouth became wider and wider. "You are not allowed to take in concubines." It was still said in a small voice, but it was said very firmly. Mu Hanjiang pursed his lips and his long eyelashes trembled slightly. He looked like a small animal that was being bullied. Jing Shao's heart suddenly softened into a pool of spring water when he saw the person below him looking like this. Whenever he feels that he already loved Jun Qing very much, he would find more alluring and adorable side of him that he hadn't seen before, and he would grow to love him even more until he fell so deep that it was impossible extricate himself anymore. He leaned over and carefully kissed those slightly trembling eyelashes. Then he whispered in his ear, "Say it again louder and I will make you a promise." It turned out that this person heard him clearly just now and was just purposely teasing him. Mu Hanjiang pursed his lips, pushed away the person on top of him and sat up. "If you take a concubine, then don't ever touch me again in the future." Jing Shao pulled his wife back into his arms and rolled around on the bed with him in his embrace and said with a smile, "Don't worry, Imperial Father will never force another concubine on me in the future." Mu Hanjiang frowned and asked, "Why is that?" "Give me a kiss and I'll tell you." Jing Shao pressed Mu Hanjiang below him once more as a misbehaving hand started exploring under his wife's robes. End chapter. The Wife is First. Volume 3, Gathering Storm. Chapter 75, Family Banquet. Mu Hanjiang refused to be tricked, so he squinted his eyes and thought for a moment, then said, "I know why, even if you don't tell me." "Really?" Jing Shao looked Mu Hanjiang, who had a mischievous expression in his eyes, like a cat who had got the canary, and felt the stirring in his heart got stronger. "You must have told Imperial Father-in-law that you've lost your ability in bed, so if you took in more concubines, you would lose face," Mu Hanjiang whispered softly in his ear. Jing Shao was stunned for a moment before he narrowed his eyes and asked, "Are you doubting my capability?" "I'm just guessing, ah." Before Mu Hanjiang could finish speaking, his clothes were roughly pulled open and suddenly, there was a warm pressure in his chest along with a twinge of pain. This was followed by an indescribable pleasure, forcing him to lower his head as he moaned in a hoarse voice. Jing Shao let go of the pitiful little nub in his mouth and pressed the hand of the struggling person below him and put it on top of his head. "Whether this prince is capable in bed, it shall be verified by yourself personally. Don't make trouble, I have to see Jodager in the afternoon." When Mu Hanjiang realized that Jing Shao was serious, he couldn't help but want to shrink back, but the person on top of him obviously didn't intend to let him go. Whether or not his prince consort wanted to vary his capabilities in bed, Jing Shao was determined to prove his ability, and so the good afternoon nap turned into a vigorous activity. Slower, Mu Hanjiang clenched the pillow tightly, and was forced to tilt his neck back from the fierce thrusts of the man above him. With his 2 slender legs wrapped around Jing Shao's waist, he trembled uncontrollably. Jing Shao slowed down his movements, then he moved up a little to kiss those slightly parted lips. He let the person beneath him catch his breath, then he slowly pulled out until the tip of his member was just in Mu Hanjiang's entrance before he suddenly thrust it all the way in. Mu Hanjiang grabbed the sheets. Every time Jing Shao thrust it inside his body, he would twitch uncontrollably. The feeling was so intense that he could only scream silently. After repeating this slow but deep thrusting for a dozen or so, Jing Xiao resumed his rapid rhythm from before. This switching between fast and slow pace brought tears to those beautiful eyes. The man in his arms was still shuddering from his last orgasm when Jing Xiao kissed away the tears that escaped from his eyes and caressed his hair gently over and over again. The two of them were immersed in the wonderful afterglow, and it took them a while to come back from the heights. How about it? Aren't I very capable? Jing Xiao grinned and nibbled on that beautiful collarbone. Mu Hanjiang glared at him and did not intend to answer the question. No matter what he said at this time, this man would only use it as an excuse to do it again. Although the glare that Mu Hanjiang gave him was sharp, Jing Xiao couldn't feel any discouragement from those teary eyes. Feeling pleased with himself, Jing Xiao smiled and slowly withdrew. Mu Hanjiang frowned and breathed a sigh. What is going on? Can you tell me now? Jing Xiao lay down on his side and hugged his wife into his arms to speak with a smile. You see, you should have just kissed me in the beginning and save us from exerting all these efforts. As he spoke, he reached out and patted Mu Hanjiang's smooth and plump ass. Mu Hanjiang's face blushed red. He grabbed the erstwhile hand and threw it out of the quilt. Then he turned around to ignore Jing Xiao. Jing Xiao drew him close and hugged his wife from behind. He was afraid that if he really annoyed his prince consort, he would be sent to sleep with Xiao Huang tonight. So, he earnestly stopped fooling around and said, "All right, I won't tease you anymore." He buried his nose in the middle of his wife's neck and greedily sniffing in the faint fragrance mixed with the smell of sweat, and roughly recounted what happened in the court today. You meant that they want to bestow the title of a marquee to me? Mu Hanjiang was stunned for a moment, then asked slowly. Yes. The official title hasn't been decided yet. I will ask Gerger to choose one that suits your temperament best, but it must be more prestigious than the Marquis of Beiwei. Jing Xiao said proudly. Being a marquis meant that he would be qualified to participate in the court session in the future. It meant that his talents had been recognized. Moreover, it meant that once his father was gone, he has the right to bring his mother into his residence to look after her. Since he was married as a male wife of Prince Cheng, he could no longer take the Imperial Civil Service exam. He originally thought that this would be the case for the rest of his life. Later, in the history books, he would only be mentioned as Prince Consort Cheng, someone perpetually mentioned in connection with that of his husband's name. He didn't expect that there would be such a turn of events. After he confirmed his feelings with Jing Xiao, Mu Hanjiang was no longer obsessed with the imperial examination, but as a man who didn't want to make contributions and leave a mark in history. After talking for a long time, Jing Xiao noticed that the person in his arms had not responded, so he peeked over his shoulder to check his wife's expression. He then saw that his prince consort buried half of his face in the pillow and was smiling secretly. Seeing Jun Qing like this, Jing Xiao couldn't help but raise the corners of his lips as well. Though a burst of pain gradually arose in his heart. His Jun Qing originally had the talent to become a marquis or even a minister, but his wings had been clipped too many times. Earlier, he was thinking to tease him and do it one more time, but when he felt this pain, the desire he felt subsided. He hugged his wife once again and said, "Once the imperial edict come, I will have someone change the plaque in front of the estate and have it read as Prince Cheng and Marquis of ____ estate." Mu Hanjiang responded. "Oh, and also, let's tear down the east courtyard and build a viewing garden in it. In the future, Xiao Huang will also have a place to hunt." Jing Xiao took the hand of the person next to him and played with his slender fingers. Mu Hanjiang raised his eyebrows. Shouldn't the east courtyard be turned into the marquee courtyard? If not, then at least turn it into guest room. How could it be converted into a garden? But then, Jing Xiao was talking happily, so he didn't contradict him. ******. The 15th day of the first lunar month was the Lantern Festival. On this day, there was no need to attend the morning court, so Jing Xiao slept with his prince consort until the sun was well high in the sky. They didn't get up until they were woken up by Xiao Huang, who had sneaked into the inner chamber. Va Wu. Xiao Huang flopped onto the floor next to the bed and tilted its head to look at the couple on the bed for a while before it slowly squatted and jumped up. When it got to the large bed, the little tiger tilted its head and rubbed its head against Mu Hanzhang's cheek. Then it lay on Jing Xiao's chest. There's really no peaceful moment with this thing around. Jing Xiao sat up and pushed the tiger off his body. Gerger may go to Jiangnan next month. He might as well take this thing to the waiting water garden and have it raised alongside Ji Yuhuiking's lion. Mu Hanzhang also sat up and pinched the little tiger's round ears. Xiao Huang shook its head, then lay down on its back and mewed softly at him. But if it is not around us for a year, it will no longer recognize us. In the past half-year, he had gotten used to having the little tiger around him every day, so he really couldn't bear to give it to the king of Huainan. I was just saying it casually. Seeing his prince consort's melancholy look, Jing Xiao's heart immediately softened and quickly retracted his words. The two of them freshened up. They would have to attend a banquet in the imperial palace in the evening, so they took advantage of their free time to go over to Huawei restaurant. Something have delayed us yesterday, Jing Xiao explained casually. We don't have to go to court session today, so why didn't Minister Xiao come to help? There was a lantern festival fair in the capital today, and the business of the restaurant was sure to be good that day. At this moment, guests coming in for lunch had not yet begun to take their seats. Wearing a bright pink robes, Boss Zhou was rolling Tang Yuan in the large dining hall and said, "It's rare for him to have a day off, so I let him get some more sleep at home." Zhou Jin smiled and asked the waiter to serve them a bowl of yuan xiao. "I heard that the Count of Yongchang broke a set of cups when he came home yesterday." His wife sighed that she would go to the Empress to talk about it. Zhou Jin smiled as he shared the gossip that he heard yesterday. Mu Hanzhang swallowed a mouthful of yuan xiao, then said, "She will definitely not be able to enter the palace today. There will be a banquet in the palace tonight." Ha, the Count of Yongchang's wife is famous for being persistent. After Prince Cheng punched the Count of Yongchang, you won't hear the end of it for at least half a year. Zhou Jin shook his head. Even if she couldn't enter the palace today, she would definitely go there tomorrow and every day afterwards. Jing Xiao wasn't concerned, as she didn't think one old woman could stir up so much trouble. Mu Hanzhang took note of the matter without saying anything else. He gave Zhou Jin a pair of carved jade pixie figures which he had brought from the southeast, wishing him good fortune in the future. Both pixie figure were about the size of an egg, perfect for hanging at the waist, as they were very beautiful with their deep color. Zhou Jin readily accepted the offerings and gave them a jar of salted duck eggs in return. ******. The evening banquet at the palace on the 15th day of the first lunar month was a family banquet. It wasn't as grand as the New Year banquet. Only direct relatives within 2 generations of the imperial family could attend. The empress sat on a high seat, wearing a gorgeous phoenix robe that was very grand. She looked coldly at the pair of husbands who came in hand. Originally, wives should sit on the right side, but since Mu Hanzhang was a man, he sat with Jing Xiao at the second table on the left side. Prince Rui, Jing Chen, was already seated at the first table. With the 3 men in magnificent attire sitting together, their corner immediately felt lively. Even though the 3 of them rarely talked to each other, it still sounded like the chatter of a number of people. On the other hand, at the third table, the 4th Prince Jingyu was sitting by himself, silent and looked feeble in both standing and demeanor. The Empress' willow-like eyebrows gradually knitted together. The original intention of making Prince Cheng marry a male wife was to turn the 2 brothers against each other. As a result, instead of resenting his brother, Jing Xiao actually doted on his male wife very much. Now that this male wife was going to be conferred the title of marquee, Jing Chen had now suddenly got himself 2 extra aides. The palace banquet began. Emperor Hongzheng sat on the throne and drank. Taking in the whole scene at once and noticing the Empress' expression, he couldn't help but sneer in his heart. After so many years, she was still too inferior to take in public outings. He remembered the dignified and virtuous Empress Yuan who personally cooked a pot of yuan xiao every year for the Lantern Festival Palace banquet. She would have all the brothers sit in the same table and share the food together. Jing Shao was the naughtiest and would often ask for one more bowl. Empress Yuan would not prepare more for him, so Jing Chen would give his own bowl to his younger brother. Now, looking at the cold atmosphere at the palace banquet, the emperor suddenly felt lonely and couldn't help but sigh. It was customary for the emperor to stay in the empress chambers on the night of the 15th of the month. Emperor Hongzheng drank 2 more cups of wine. When he entered Fenji Palace, he just wanted to take a bath and sleep. The empress personally attended to the emperor and helped him to change his clothes. After some hesitation, she couldn't help but said, "Your Majesty, this consort knows that she shouldn't say too much about court affairs, but Jing Shao doesn't have any heirs yet. If Prince Consort Cheng was conferred the title of a marquee, Jing Shao won't be able to take concubines in the future. How can having no sons or daughters be proper?" Emperor Hongzheng knew what expression the empress was having even without looking. He pushed away her manicured hand and untied the dragon clasp around his neck himself. Jing Shao himself doesn't like women. It's useless to send concubines to his courtyard. There had been many concubines in Prince Cheng's estate in the past, but it hadn't resulted in any son or daughter. He was still young at that time. Look at Jing Yu. He had already married an official wife for half a year now and there is still no news. The empress carefully picked her words. What's more, there has never been a precedence of a prince consort being conferred the title of the marquis in this dynasty. If he wants to join the court in the future, isn't it? Enough. Emperor Hongzheng felt a fly was buzzing around his head and he cut off the empress impatiently. Do you think that Zhen hasn't heard all of this? This emperor has our own opinion about court affairs and doesn't need you to point anything out. Your Majesty, please forgive me. The empress stepped forward to kneel. This consort. Isn't it that just for some reasons, you do not want Prince Consort Cheng to be conferred the title of a marquis? Emperor Hongzheng threw the middle coat he took off onto the face of the still half-crouched empress and continued, if it wasn't for your beloved son purposely stirring up trouble around, how would things got to the point that a noble title has to be bestowed to a prince consort? End chapter.